Hey, let's talk about talking. Let's talk about using our words and why I think you shouldn't. Strange coming from a storyteller, right? I'm all about words. Well, I would like to change that perception, which is that the content is the least important part of the storytelling process. The telling is more important than the content, and even more than that, in fact, exponentially more important than the content and the telling is the connection with the listener. None of the other stuff works unless you have developed a connection. You develop a connection, you develop trust, they're willing to listen, and then once they're willing to listen and participate and connect with you, then the sky is the limit in what can be accomplished. So let's move away from using your words and find other ways, other storytelling techniques and tools for us to practice together, because I would like for you to be effective. You are someone who wants to say important things better. So here is a ground floor thing that you can work on, which is how to use your body, how to use your gesture, how to use your face, all of those things to be far more effective in your storytelling than trying to find the right words. Here's the basis of what I'm saying. So the cortex of the brain, more than half of what goes on there is processing visual information. So our cortexes are built to see, use imagery. So even if your eyes don't necessarily work, that part of the brain is still processing visual information. And so why would that be? From an evolutionary standpoint, that's assessing danger and that's finding opportunity. That's finding food. That's being able to read other people to see are we connected? Are we on the same team here? Or am I an enemy? Do I need to protect myself? And all the various dangers that befall everybody all the time, but especially back in the day. So let's leverage that instead of something that we only developed yesterday, which is to really tick through how words work and how in order, and it's very complicated when we're talking to each other and especially when we're reading or exchanging actual logos. So let's go with visual. And what I mean by that is the whole thing with a picture is worth 1,000 words. I think it's even more than that. You can tell a whole story with a gesture. And let's remember that the point of stories and storytelling is to develop connections with other human beings. That's why we do it, truly. It's lesser so to teach a lesson. It's less so to enroll someone into what you're doing. What we're talking for is to build connection. That's why we speak most of the time. With that in mind, then let's be efficient with our storytelling and try to leverage the visual component as much as possible. So visually, we've got a lot of tools that we can work with. We've got our hands, we've got our faces, we've got our proximity, we've got the way in which we're standing or slouching or what have you. We've got what we look like. So, you've been identifying this color hat for a while. It's now a part of how you know me. And we've got our environment. I'm outside, I'm in the snow. These are all things that mean something to you and speak to you. So if our goal is to build connection, and connection is built really through a somatic and an emotional, a feeling sense, rather than oh yeah, I'm in agreement with this individual, that's a route to what builds the connection, which is a body thing. So let's start there. And you can ask yourself, before you open your mouth, what do you want to feel? Start there. Start with yourself. Even if you're, trying to mobilize a crowd, what do you want to feel? Be really clear about that. And then once you know how you want to feel, what is a physical way of expressing that? Quickly. So you could be a gesture. So for instance, if I want to feel calm, what I just did with my body would be an example of that. So, even without the sound. I feel that way. I associate a physical gesture or adjustment to my bearing, and I feel that way. or I want to get focused, and I want to get to work, and I want to do the things. So leaning forward a little bit or maybe doing this gesture helps me feel that way. You can create a whole vocabulary of this. And then you can ask yourself, what do you want them to feel, whoever you're talking to, whether it's a child or it's a coworker or what have you. How do you want them to feel? Motivated, awake, calmed down, inspired? Associate a gesture, a physical, visual identifier to that feeling, and then you can cut out so much content by just doing the gesture. So you can do it while you're listening to somebody and they're talking and you want them to stop talking and get to work. If you have a motivated gesture or way in which you hold your head or use your hands or stand in a certain way, you can get them to realize, okay, I'm not getting anywhere by saying the same things over and over again. I'm going to go get something done. And they won't even know that you just lectured them, because nobody likes to be lectured to. So you have told them a story with your body, with your physical presence, with your intentional gesture. These are all restorative storytelling tools. And they didn't even know it. So unless your goal is to get a lot of attention and to be, hailed as this great storyteller, why don't you just be effective and jump right to the end with as little effort as possible and a little bit of practice on the front end. So, as you know, you can reach out, and there's links, to get these booklets, these mini books that have lots of practices, worksheets, things that you can very quickly become effective with your storytelling just by practicing the one tool. There's a number of them, but if you just choose one, authentic presence, intentional gesture, the directional vocality, you can get some transformative tools with as little effort as possible by leveraging what the human being is, how the brain works, and its connection to your voice.